Hey guys, it's Dustin here at DG's ProTech in Listowel, Ontario. We're going to do another episode today of DG's TV. Today we're going to talk about all the 6-liter Power Stroke problems. Power Stroke 6-liter diesels probably have the worst reputation as far as light-duty diesel pickups go. Everybody knows this. Everybody also knows that because of that bad reputation, you can generally pick one up for a pretty decent price. Now, they have their slew of problems, and we're going to talk all about them, but most of those problems, in fact, probably 95% of the problems that they have a permanent repair that's either been brought out by the OEM or, in most cases, by the aftermarket. The first thing we want to talk about, guys, is a proper diagnostic. As a Ford certified technician, having the proper tools really makes all the difference. We want to make sure when we're doing these jobs that we are using 110% accuracy. So using the correct service manuals and also the correct special service tools that are licensed allow me as a professional technician to be able to be 110% accurate. Having experience on these also goes a long way as well. If we're going to go in there for a repair and there's another area close by that could use a similar repair or a permanent upgrade, it's definitely cost effective to do that at that time. Talking about special service tools then, having the right mechanical special service tools so we can make an accurate repair. Now in DG's shop, we have a lot of tools. Of course, there's a lot of electronic tools, a lot of hand tools in here. But again, having spent the money and having those OEM style tools or aftermarket proper tools will allow us to make quick, accurate, and then therefore more cost-effective repairs to you, the customer. In front of me, guys, you see a lot of parts. Some of them are OEM style parts. All of them definitely have a home in 6-liters as far as being permanent solutions in one way or another. Now, 6-liters have about 4 or 5 common failures that I tell customers it's not a matter of if it's going to fail, it's when. So we'll start by talking about the most common. Your oil cooler and your EGR cooler are definitely prone to failure in a 6-liter. The oil cooler can plug up either on the coolant portion or on the oil portion of it. It is a liquid to liquid heat exchanger rather than a true traditional air to oil cooler. And it feeds coolant from it directly in series to the EGR cooler. Now the EGR cooler is prone to failure because it's definitely stressed out. This was an early design EGR system on these diesel pickups. It's definitely weak in its an engineering standpoint. So what are our options with it? With the EGR cooler, depending on your location, within Canada where we are here, you may be able to physically remove the cooler. Removing the cooler would involve installing a kit like this, and there are different qualities of EGR removal kits on the market. We use a really nice quality one that has all really nice fitting components so that we don't have any problems after the fact. Again, we want this to be a permanent solution. If you're in an emissions compliant area, there's also bulletproof style EGR coolers that keep you completely emissions compliant. The bulletproofing of your 6-liter really involves all of the parts we're going to talk about here. Moving from the EGR and oil cooler system, the next most common failure is going to be your high pressure oil system. Now, this part is a component as an upgrade from International to Ford, and then of course to you, the customer. There's a high pressure fitting that's on later style 6-liters that's common to blow apart. We also see a couple other fittings that are under the valve covers in the high pressure rail that are also common to fail. And these will cause usually a hard start hot or potentially a no start at all because they can't build the pressure they need. We talked about the cooling system being a little weak, guys. Having a good quality working thermostat and a quality rad cap that's going to hold the pressure on the cooling system. You know, small parts that mean a big amount of problems potentially in your 6-liter. Another thing to consider after your 6-liter is being reassembled is using some components that were not available at the time of the vehicle being released to make sure that we don't have any problems down the road. Maintenance is key on any diesel, and the 6-liter is no different. There are a couple upgraded components. One of them I'm going to show you here is a coolant filter kit. This is important. We talked about the oil cooler being prone to plugging up with debris. Putting a spin-on style coolant filter that's easy to maintain, can be done on a regular basis, and really fits under the hood and doesn't look like it's out of place at all, is a definite upgrade that every 6-liter owner should have. There are some other upgrades as well. There is an upgrade called a blue fuel spring, which comes to mind really quickly. This is going to up the fuel pressure. It was actually a recall in the international world that was never brought over to Ford. It just ups that fuel pressure by 10 psi so we keep adequate fuel pressure so we don't see injector failure that's premature. Again, talking to us where we know about what these upgrades are, have them in stock, and they're on the market for a reason, definitely is going to keep that 6-liter running well longer. The other part that's very important to any engine, no different to a 6-liter, is oil filtration on your basic oil pressure system. So lube pressure is meant to be controlled by temperature and controlled by filtration. We see a lot of aftermarket filters like the one you see here, which looks very much the same as the OEM style I'm holding in my right hand. The aftermarket filtration system definitely does not cut it. You'll notice in the factory filtration system, we just simply remove the cartridge filter that's to OEM spec, replace it in the OEM cap, and this filter that goes in the top of the engine will close a drain valve when it's installed correctly. The aftermarket filters that we're finding from time to time do not come apart. They do not have the same patent level, and we also see that because their depth is slightly different, a lot of times they don't close that drain back valve. If they're not closing that valve, you're not holding proper pressure on your system anywhere in the engine, including to the high pressure system, as well as you're not filtering all the oil. So we see premature engine failures, which is also what gives the 6-liter such a bad reputation due to just something as simple as a low quality oil filter. Next, I'm going to show you a couple common failed head gaskets because I know everybody's going to ask about the head gasket failures in their 6-liter. This is a 6-liter cylinder head, guys. It's off a vehicle that we have apart. We've had apart for a little while now. It's a failed head, so it's just good for a demo here because I don't have a truck apart to show you right now. We just finished it. These are the head gaskets that came out of this truck. So when the cylinder heads come off, we're going to inspect the head gaskets. Now, if we did our diagnosis correctly, which we will have, we're going to have a good idea that there is a head gasket failure or not. Some customers will have us replace their head gaskets before there's a failure because they want to pick the downtime. It's never more frustrating than having your truck fail when it's a long weekend and you want to get going, or you're in the middle of a commercial job and you need that truck to not be down. So choosing to have it taken apart and repaired before it fails is sometimes a good option. When we're talking about 6-liter head gasket, guys, here's a perfect example of a failed one. So you'll see this fire ring in the head gasket area. A couple failed components we see. We see a slight failure here, slight failure here. Here's the other side. Major failure here, major failure here, major failure here. 6-liter head gaskets by design are a little prone to failure, partially because we only see 4 head bolts per cylinder. In most diesel designs, we see a minimum of 6, gives us better clamping force. It is a little bit under-engineered. There are ways that we can make it better. A lot of 6-liter head gasket complaints from customers we get is they'll say they have an intermittent loss of heat. Generally, that's because as the piston comes up, you'll get either exhaust pressure or combustion pressure pushing through these failed areas of the head gasket and creating air pockets in your cooling system. That loss of heat generally is those hot pockets that are floating through your cooling system getting caught in the high point. The problem is they can also get caught and cause hot pocket areas of vapors against your head itself. So going back to the cylinder head, we want to make sure that when the cylinder head comes off, it goes to a machine shop that has 6-liter experience, because they're going to mag check and check for any cracking that we can't see with our naked eye. Using a machine shop that then is going to, after making sure these cylinder heads are not cracked, they're going to do quick plane, making sure they keep them within spec, so that when we reassemble, we can guarantee that the work is done correctly. So we talked about the cylinder head impractical design with the head bolt patterns. How do we make that so it's definitely going to be stronger? Using a set of ARP fasteners that are a stud rather than a torque wheel bolt will definitely hold proper torque down on that gasket. We've had excellent luck, and as have a lot of other repair shops, in using these over and above the factory head bolts. Guys will ask also about quality of head gasket. There was questions for a long time about which brands of head gaskets were better than others. In this shop, we want to use Ford OEM or better. Mola has released an excellent package that includes all of your top end reseal stuff. So we see, of course, valve seals. So when that cylinder head's gone over, we have new seals within the actual cylinder head itself. We have oil cooler seals. We have injector seals. We're going to reseal all those injectors when we reassemble. We see Valve covers, we see lower valve cover gaskets. We see intake manifold gaskets. We see exhaust manifold gaskets, and these weren't even equipped from factory in these guys. So we want good quality parts coming back in. And of course, to top it all off, a good set of quality head gaskets that are gonna be guaranteed with DG's ProTech. The other thing we should talk about, guys, is wearable components. When we have this 6-liter engine apart, we want to make sure, I'll say it again, that it's coming apart once and we don't have to get back into it for any of these repairs for a very long time, if at all. Glow plugs and injectors are components that will wear out over time in any diesel engine. Go back to that quality diagnostic. If we do a quality diagnostic with an OEM scan tool, I can tell you with a very good degree of accuracy the strength of your injectors, or if we have weak or low output glow plugs. By doing that, we can potentially go in and say, you know what, you've got 6 strong injectors. You may not even notice there's a couple that are slightly out of spec. If we're going in there to do a head gasket or cylinder head removal and repair, then replacing some of those components at that time definitely means we don't have to go back in again at a later date when they get worn worse. So that effect will keep cost of maintaining your 6-liter down over the long term, and that's what it's all about. So kind of to summarize, guys, we know that the 6-liter is problematic. We know how to fix it and fix it permanently. Come see a shop that's OEM certified, that has the training, that has the experience, that has the special service tools, and you're gonna have a 6-liter truck that when you're all done, you're gonna be happy with. And that's really what it's all about, is keeping your customers satisfied and happy, especially here at DG's ProTech. So this one, guys, I think we're gonna call it done. Give us a call anytime. Go on our Facebook page, hit up all of our social media aspects, go on our website, leave some reviews. Make sure that you're coming to see us for all these kind of diesel repairs, especially for your Power Stroke stuff. Thanks a lot, guys.